following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, this is Brother Mike. I'm back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Today's Bible study, Gender Dysphoria, Sophroneo. Hey, will you call somebody and tell the radio program's on? I'll make a couple of announcements when you make that call. Thanks for your help. And by the way, thank you for a fantastic 2019. It's unbelievable that 2019 is over and 2020 is starting. It's incredible, isn't it? And this is Brother Mike. I'm the certified counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center in downtown Phoenix. We're on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. On the website, you'll notice we have 2 services every week, Thursday night at 7 p.m. Our healing rooms are open, no appointment necessary. In the healing rooms, believe it or not, the last couple of weeks, we have had a dog delivered from demons. That has never happened before. I'm not sure what's going on. We had over a dozen people in the last 2 week services also delivered and healed. Friday night at 7 p.m. is my teaching service for my radio listeners. On the website, you can hit the PayPal button and send us another donation. And by the way, thank you for all the kind and very generous donations you sent in, year-end donations for 2019. It was fantastic. Thank you for all the referrals you sent to Sister Karen in 2019 for her real estate business. I don't take a salary in the ministry. I'm on a special divine support system. I'm on the Working Wife program. And contact Karen. She's on the homepage of the website. She'll be happy to list your house for you. And thank you so much for your kindness. The PayPal button's on there. Please send us another donation. Fantastic gifts last year. May God richly bless you. Today's Bible study, Gender Dysphoria Sophroneo. Gender dysphoria. Whoa, confusion over your gender. But then, sophroneo is a Greek word that means come back to your senses or to become sane again. This gender dysphoria thing is sweeping the country. It's sweeping the planet, actually. The devil has taken this thing over to many other countries. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Check it out. The Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils a breath of life, and man became a living soul. Now, breaking down this verse in Hebrew, you know that the word Lord that's King James Version. That's the Hebrew word Yahweh or Jehovah. God in that verse is the Hebrew word Elohim. It's the plural Hebrew word for gods. Formed is the Hebrew word Yatsar. Yatsar means to make something out of pre-existing material. In Genesis 1:1, the Greek word for created in that verse, as you know, means to create something out of nothing. Here, God creates or forms man out of the dust of the ground. That's the Hebrew word Adamah. It means earth. Adam's name, Adam, of course, means he's the man from earth, or the earth man. The dirt man. Later on, of course, he became a dirt bag. And then it says God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. The Hebrew word for breath there means to blow. And he blew into Adam's nose like you blow a balloon up, and he blew into him. It says man became a living soul. Nephesh is the Hebrew word for soul there. It means 2 things in translation. Number 1 is a human life, someone who's alive or living, and number 2, the eternal soul within the human being. And in this particular case, in Genesis 2:7, both things happened. He became a living soul. And that's how human beings were created, and that's how they were made. And then later on in Genesis, of course, it goes through the text as clear as it can be. God only made 2 sexes. There's males, there's females, period. Now, there are genetic mutations, of course, hermaphrodites and different things like that. But that's the result of the fall, not the result of the way God created them. Adam gave us all these flaws and deficits in human beings, congenital disabilities, hermaphrodites, congenital sicknesses and diseases. The devil gave us everything through Adam, of course, because Adam listened and he was the dirt bag man. But here's an article that came out of Sky News in United Kingdom. Check this out. I keep track of the stuff going on in the United Kingdom because it always ends up here in America, same way as I watch the stuff in California because it starts out west and it always sweeps east. Here's the article. It says, quote, some 35 child psychologists have resigned from the United Kingdom's juvenile gender identity clinic over the past 3 years after becoming concerned by the ease with which medical professionals were diagnosing young people with gender dysphoria. According to Sky News, many of the former staff claimed they were unable to properly assess patients out of fear they'd be labeled homophobic. Other clinicians expressed anxiety over the potential health risks associated with hormone treatment. Our fears are that the young people are being overdiagnosed and then over-medicated, one anonymous psychologist explained. We're extremely concerned about the consequences for young people. For those of us who previously worked in the service, we fear that we've had a front row seat to a medical scandal. No kidding, partner. It's far more than a medical scandal. This is Satan himself at work. Here's the article, quote, another psychologist insisted that they felt pressured to prescribe hormone medication, even if it wasn't necessary in the patient's best interest. Quote, the alarm started ringing for me. I didn't feel able to voice my concerns, or when I did, I was often shut down by affirmative clinicians, the staffer told the Newsline Telegraph. Quote, looking back, there are young people who I now wouldn't necessarily put on medication. No, really? You're kidding me. No kidding. Quote, in an interview with the Christian Post, endocrinologist Michael Laidlaw warned that the effects of many U.S.-based puberty blocking treatments can be irreversible and may put the patients on a pathway toward sterility. Quote, there's no long-term evidence for benefits for these treatments, he added. These drugs are not approved by the FDA. In a statement released in the matter, GIDS, G-I-D-S, insisted that it adopted a, quote, considered and thoughtful approach, unquote, to its work, and, quote, supports clinicians to engage openly and supportively with patients and parents. Of course, they're lying. They're lying like crazy, obviously. The clinic added that it had conducted exit interviews with all departing staff to understand their motivations and identify any areas of concern. Of course, that was a lie, too. Last year, some almost 2,600 children were referred to the GIDS, Gender Identity Development Service, at the Tavistock and Portman Foundation Trust for treatment related to gender dysphoria. 10 years ago, the referral number was only 77 patients. Now, what's going on here? Let's flip the coin over and look at the head side. Okay, this is the trans is the tail side. The head side of this coin was Satan decided to make homosexuality normal in the United States. Now, he did it through sheer supernatural brilliance. Homosexuality started out, it started to get popular during the sexual revolution in the late 60s, but it wasn't booming fast enough. So Satan created the disease called HIV. And HIV obviously turns into AIDS, and then AIDS, they have a short life expectancy thereafter, and they die really very horrible deaths. Satan created this disease. He did it to popularize homosexuality and make it normal. He gave them this horrible medical condition so that people would look at them with sympathy and help them. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. But the point of it was, hey, don't make a moral judgment on these people anymore. Just help them. It's a medical issue. So these mostly men, patients started to die, homosexuals started to die in droves in the early 80s from AIDS. HIV then transferred over to blood transfusions and hospital patients and hemophiliacs and so on. And this thing started to become a national epidemic. Well, the federal government and the FDA, they can cure all kinds of diseases, but they don't really want to because there's a lot of revenue or money to be made in it. Well, HIV/AIDS was something that had to be cured because it could spread so fast and cause so many deaths. So the government, within a few years developed medications to control HIV. But the devil then took it from there, normalized homosexuality, and then legalized it. And now homosexuality in America is perfectly normal. You can't discriminate against them. It's a civil rights violation, and they're free to marry and divorce and adopt children and do anything basically heterosexuals are allowed to do. That's how he normalized it. What he did now was, with homosexuality now in Satan's bag, he then started transgenderism. And he's bringing that to the forefront, and he's convincing without medical research, without medical documentation for the medications used to translate these patients, and they're doing it on children, they're doing it on young adults, they're translating them into another sex. None of this is valid. There is no medical research documenting transgenderism. There is no homosexual gene. They never found it. This is all caused by unclean spirits. Demons get into these people's bodies during childhood, during periods of abuse, trauma, or great disappointment. They can also get into the body or transfer in the body through sexual immorality, fornication, adultery, sexual experimentation, bisexuality. They can also transfer in, and what they do, they morph the child's or the young adult's gender identity. They morph their sexuality, so they start to develop sexual desires for same sex. They start to sense that they're not the right gender and they're in the wrong body. If you are a born-again Christian and you have these sensations, you are eligible for free counseling services, the Arizona Deliverance Center. Once these spirits are removed, the person can completely recover. You can recover from transgenderism. You can recover from homosexuality, gay, lesbian. You can recover from it. Once the spirits are removed that are generating these desires, you can be healed. 602-636-5800. There are no charge for services for born-again Christians.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.